What's the challenge for publishers and how are you helping them?
I think the challenge is to move from a tactical approach when it comes to social strategy to a more holistic approach that kind of feeds into all of the primary analytics buckets and sort of strategic buckets of a company. And that's definitely one area that we help in by enabling publishers and media companies to integrate with their omniture, to really build a more holistic approach to social optimization and syndication of their content, as well as social sign-on or social registration, in order to understand more about who that user is, and then again integrate that data into analytics and ultimately into ad targeting as well.
This is a big question. Facebook Connect kind of changed things, and how are you helping customers?
Users now discover more content on social platforms than they do in search. Okay, so it's a different form of content discovery. It's passive content discovery. I may not be out there searching for a New York City hotel room or for a great restaurant in my area, but if a friend of mine Twitters about it or a friend of mine posts it on their Facebook, it's very likely that I'm going to be interested in that content. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to go check it out. So because there are now 500 million users on Facebook spending billions of hours a month, it's become really important for publishers, more traditional media companies and publishers, to really dial in their strategy of how exactly they're going to be syndicating their content onto Facebook and other large social platforms like Yahoo, Google, which actually have Connect products as well, LinkedIn, Twitter, MySpace, etc., and really account for what those KPIs are, those key performance indicators around success of syndicating that content.
A bunch of companies do it themselves.
Right.
You know, how do you help them, or what do you do different? And I know you represent some big clients.
Sure. All these APIs are free. They're readily available. Publishers can definitely take a crack at implementing it themselves. One publisher that comes to mind that does do it themselves is Huffington Post. Those guys are really sort of leading the way with content sites as far as on-site social optimization goes. But you know, I've talked to their CEO on several occasions, and it's a big undertaking, right? So it's going to take maybe one full-time developer at least to manage all of these social APIs in any sort of consistent manner. And believe me, we're a lot less money than that.
How broad is the management that you provide a publisher? In other words, it's not just Facebook Connect.
Right.
It's just, tell us a little bit about the scope of it and the demands now of media businesses.
Sure. There's about a dozen social APIs that we're managing on behalf of partners. And then you multiply that in all of the different browser environments and app environments. It becomes a lot more than a dozen. And then you take into account all of the changing of each one of those existing APIs. So just a few months ago, Facebook completely revamped their APIs so that if you struggle to implement Facebook Connect, well, congratulations, you now have the equivalent of a 2G iPhone, right? It's something that you really need to keep up on a weekly basis to make sure that you have all the best practices, you're adhering to all the terms of service, et cetera. So again, it starts with about 12 APIs, but it gets much broader than that very quickly.
How is this whole app world integrated in the sort of, in the publisher's overall distribution scheme, and how do you help them?
The same way that we help Flash sites and Java-enabled sites and HTML sites implement social technology on their site, we do the same thing in-app native SDK for iPhone, Droid, BlackBerry. So it's really an entirely different code base, and it takes a lot more work. And again, we are unifying the experience, making the experience consistent across multiple platforms so that users, no matter what screen they're accessing content from, have the ability to log in, with their existing social IDs. They have the ability to syndicate content out. They have the ability to invite their friends back to the site or to the application to have a more lean forward, participatory, and social experience.
Few people spend time on 10 or more sites, and again, this is per month, not per week. So the average number of sites that are regularly accessed is 4.5. I think I heard this morning that